Hey guys, and welcome back to another week of A Year in the Red. So you can see we are out on location today. We are going to jump right into a parable about sturdy foundations. And so as we kind of prepare for that, I want to go ahead and read out of two different books here. We've got two different references for you. The first is in Matthew chapter 7, and we're in verse 24 through 27. And here's what it says. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat against that house and it fell, and great was the fall of it. That's in Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. And again, Luke has it recorded this way, and we're just going to read through that too as well because I think it's important. So now we're in Luke chapter 6, verses 46 through 49. And this is, "Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do what I tell you? Everyone who comes to me and hears my words and does them, I will show you what he is like. He is like a man building a house who dug deep and laid the foundation on rock. And when a flood arose, the stream broke against that house and could not shake it because it had been well built. But the one who hears and does not do them is like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation. When the stream broke against it, immediately it fell, and the ruin of that house was great." Okay, so the reason that we're out here today, the reason that that we're not, in our same room there, is I kind of want to demonstrate this for you guys. I'm a visual learner. I really like to be able to see things, and especially when I'm reading the Bible, I sometimes envision things actually playing out. So behind me, we have a couple of things going on. But what I want to talk about before we demonstrate is, if you recall, in Matthew chapter 7, this is actually Jesus is finishing up the Sermon on the Mount. So he is still, talking to the crowds, he's talking to his disciples, and he's basically saying all of these things that I've just told you, and we can go back and we've been through some of the parables, that Jesus was speaking on the Sermon on the Mount. He's saying all of these things that I've said, if you are just hearers of the word and not doers of the word, you are like the unwise man who built his house on sand. If you hear all of these things that I'm teaching you and you put them into practice, then you are the wise man who dug deep and built his house on a foundation. And so just to kind of demonstrate that today, this is basically what Jesus is saying. What he's saying is the wise man has built his house. He's dug deep. Here we've got a house, and it literally is dug deep. The foundation has been dug deep. The building was built on top, but the first thing that was put down was dug into the ground and poured concrete. It hits the rock underneath the soil, and it's built on something strong, so that when storms, when other things arise, and when the house is tested under pressure, it doesn't go anywhere. The house is strong. The house is still there. The house hasn't moved. The foundation has kept it strong, and it's kept its space. What Jesus is talking about as well as the unwise man who just hears and he's not a doer. He's like building his house on sand. And when the storms came and when the streams rose, that house was destroyed. Great was the fall of that house. And while that seems like a very silly demonstration, of course, Grace, that cardboard box is going to fly off the sand like that when you pour a bucket of water on it. That's really silly to compare it to this strong house. When you think about it, it's just as silly as you guys or me or anybody else putting our foundation as something that is less than Christ. When what Jesus is calling us to do in this parable is he's saying, listen, these are the commandments that I'm giving you. This is what I am bringing down from God. These are the things that you are supposed to build your foundation on. And anything less than that, your fall will be great. So as we kind of like think through this process, I want you guys to think about what are you actually building your foundation in? I spent a lot of years of my life thinking through and putting my foundation in things that were so much lesser than Christ, and I was miserable. What are some of those things that you put your foundation in? Do you put your foundation in the grades you get at school and how smart you are? Do you put your foundation in what other people think of you? Do you put your foundation in your status in life, or in just the way, you know, like I said, the way that other people treat you? Or are you firmly rooted in what Christ has for you? And that is grace, and that is mercy, and that's something that you can't get on your own. But so many times we find ourselves in positions where we're filling our lives and we're basing our happiness and our contentment and we're piecing our life together based on something unsturdy like a house built on sand. And if we have sand as our foundation, the slightest trials or the slightest problems can knock us off course, because we don't have the ultimate foundation keeping us strong and keeping us focused. And so it's really important for us to go back and think, especially about your own priorities, and your own, you know, the things that you are putting most of your stock into. Is your happiness dependent on a person that you have in your life? Are you not happy unless that person is around? Is your happiness or your joy dependent on your schoolwork, or, you know, other people's praises of you? All of these things, you know, it could be silly, and like the music that you listen to. Is that the only way that you find purpose or worth in your life? And all of these things will ultimately fail you. All of the other things that you place as your foundation in life, those are going to ultimately fail you. And I'm sure that some of you have already learned that the hard way. I know that I've learned it the hard way plenty of times, that those things that I place before Christ, that I put before Him, or that I try and build my foundation on, those things ultimately fail me. I spent a lot of my years, you know, trying to please people, to please other people, to make other people happy. And if those other people weren't happy, and that's what I was building my foundation on, I was feeling great and perfect as long as all the other people in my life were feeling great. Well, as you and I both know, life isn't always, you know, sunshine and roses all the time. You know, things happen, and we go through trials and we go through struggles. And it was very easy for me to falter in my own life, because I had put my foundation in other people. And when their lives were going terribly, I somehow, you know, put part of that burden on myself. And so, you know, I would ask the same question to you guys. Do you know that you've put your foundation in something that is not as firm, is not as sturdy as Christ and His promises for us? He has given us a whole guidebook, a manual, a love letter. This is, you know, this word that He has given us is alive, and He is here. He lives, you know, within this. He lives within you as well. And so for us to put as our foundation something less than that, it's as silly as putting a piece, you know, a cardboard house on a pile of sand and expecting it to stay there when trials strike. So I guess some questions that I would have for you guys today are just kind of think back and really just kind of evaluate, you know, what is your foundation truly in? Does it rest in the simple knowledge that Christ is all you need, that He has paid your way to be with God again, and that's it. His love, His grace, and His mercy that He offers you, that's our sturdy foundation. And so, you know, just kind of think back and really evaluate your own life and think about those things that maybe you are putting and that you are resting on, and that you are hoping are going to keep you strong and supported. And if it's not Christ, I can tell you that, just from personal experience, I can tell you that mighty and great will be the fall. When trials strike, when storms come, when the waters rise, when the winds come, mighty will be the fall if your foundation is not found in Christ. So that's it for this week. Thanks for checking us out. And guys, just leave some feedback or maybe answer some questions on our Facebook page. We really hope that you guys are staying accountable with each other. And we're looking forward to seeing you next week. See you guys.